Hello everybody and welcome to the HireRight Digital Identity Verification for UK Right to Work webinar, hosted by HireRight's Director of Product Management, Jay. I am going to hand straight over to him to start the webinar today. I'd just like to remind everybody, if you've got any questions at all, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A section. And at the end of this webinar, once Jay has gone through all the details, we'll be doing a Q&A session and I can line up those questions ready to ask him. So thank you very much, and over to you, Jay.
All right, thank you, Anne. Good morning, everybody. And again, thank you for taking the time to be with us on this webinar today. So I'm Jay Jernigan. I lead the HireRight International Markets product team. So our team is responsible for regional product improvements and solutions across EMEA, Latin America, and APAC regions. So I'll be running you through today's webinar. So just a quick rundown of our agenda. We'll do a quick summary of what we do at HireRight. We'll walk through what is digital identity verification and how that works with UK right to work checks. We'll then talk through our right to work service and the benefits of our product. And then we'll have three demos to walk through the different, the main user flows for right to work. And then I'll give you a quick update on what's coming up next. So what we do, HireRight, as you know, is a leading provider of technology-driven workforce risk management and compliance solutions. So we focus on what our customers need across human resources, compliance, security, information technology, and finance. And we empower our customers to make hiring decisions better, faster, and easier. We partner with talent management, risk mitigation, and compliance strategies. We have a full suite of screening solutions with a global reach, and we have a commitment to quality and accuracy. And we integrate with most customer IT platforms. So it's a seamless transition if you have an HR system that we support. And we deliver global solutions locally. We have complete and accurate reporting with rapid turnaround time. We have compliance-driven solutions and industry-guided information security, and we offer an efficient experience for our candidates and our customers. So what is digital identity verification? Digital identity verification is a fully digital method of verifying a candidate's identity and/or documentation. The candidate submits the required identity documents, captures imagery of their face and the relevant information via their smartphone, laptop, or desktop. And that's then verified using digital technology. For UK right to work, this is different to the existing manual process when a candidate's documents are physically inspected and verified by a nominated representative from the employer's organization. So digital identity verification is a key deliverable of the Home Office's Digital Identity and Attributes Trust Framework. The framework was created in response to the government's wider plan to make it quicker and easier for people to verify themselves with modern technology. Earlier this year, the government introduced legislation to allow employers to conduct a UK right to work check using identity document validation technology through the services of what's called an identity services provider. Here is sort of a brief summary of our right to work product. So we want to make sure that we can support you to comply with UK right to work regulations. We want to streamline the right to work process and help minimize risk. So there's three main types of checks that are incorporated into our product with Home Office guidance into one solution. These checks can be initiated from information provided by the candidate, and we offer start to finish electronic fulfillment for these checks. So there's three main workflows that we'll cover today. So the first one is for UK or Irish citizens from the Republic of Ireland with a passport or with a valid passport or passport card. And with that, we use our IDSP EOD to offer that solution. We can also combine that with DBS basic disclosure, and we'll show you that flow later in the session. For non-UK or Irish citizens, we offer a process to fulfill the online share code process for Right to Work. And using your candidate's share code, we could obtain and provide you with their UK Right to Work information from the Home Office online check. And then the third option is a manual right to work check, and those are in specific scenarios where digital verification is not available through an IDSP or the share code process, or if your candidate declines using the digital check. So the benefits for customers and your candidates, we offer a simplified experience for customers and candidates. Candidates with required documentation complete the process in one online session on their smartphone, mobile, or desktop. Customers no longer have to physically inspect the candidate's documents with the digital or online share code is conducted. However, employers must check the photo and biographic details on the output from those checks that they're consistent with the individual when they present themselves for work. This offers a simplified experience with a reduced risk of identity fraud. It reduces the risk of human error inherent from a manual check and helps protect employers from accepting sophisticated fraudulent documents. The other thing is that this does offer a faster process. So with less than 5 minutes to complete the digital check, it's quick. Typically happens within 1 business day. Results from a successful check will be available as soon as the candidate completes the check. And again, if successful, will be available within 1 business day. So I'll now walk through 3 demos. We'll have 3 different flows. The first one is the flow with DBS Basic Disclosure Check and Right to Work Check. The second flow is the digital IDSP check for UK and Irish citizens with a current passport without DBS. And then the third option is the online share code process for non-UK or Irish citizens. I'm going to take you through a demo of our UK Right to Work service. During this demo, you'll notice reference to Yoti. There is specialized I'm going to take you through a demo of our UK Right to Work service. During this demo, you'll notice reference to Yoti. They're a specialized digital identity verification provider who we've partnered with to offer this service to our customers. Employers can now carry out both a DBS check and UK Right to Work check digitally using document validation technology instead of having to conduct manual checks for those services. However, to do this, employers are required by the UK government to use the service of an identity services provider, also referred to as an IDSP. Yoti is a certified IDSP. The screens in this demonstration show the process where a candidate is required to complete both a DBS basic check and a UK Right to Work check. As you'll see, the candidate will interact with Yoti only once for both checks, simplifying the process for both them and for you. In this demo, we will show you how HireRight's combined DBS and UK Right to Work digital identity verification service works for candidates who are citizens of the UK or Ireland and have a current passport. There are additional demos available for Right to Work checks without a passport or DBS basic disclosure checks. In this initial screen, your candidate provides all the necessary information for a DBS basic disclosure check. From there, they'll move to the Right to Work screens. Your candidate starts the UK Right to Work process, and in this instance by clicking I'm a citizen of the UK or Ireland with a passport, and clicks Next. After selecting the option using a passport, your candidate is asked to review and confirm any information they've already provided for this check and any other checks they've been asked to undertake. Clicking Next. They now, amongst other things, consent to the check being run and electronically sign the declaration before submitting. Your candidate is presented with an overview of the process they're about to follow and are asked whether they agree to a digital identity verification check for DBS basic disclosure and UK Right to Work performed by Yoti. If your candidate declines, HireRight will notify you, the employer, to complete an in-person UK Right to Work check and DBS document check. We'll notify you via an alert in your screening manager and by email. Your candidate also has the option at this page to postpone the digital identity verification process for up to 10 working days. This means they can leave it out for now and come back later to complete the process as long as they would do so within the 10 days. You can disable this function upon request if your organization would prefer not to give your candidates this option. However, in this scenario, your candidate accepts and clicks Next. We will then guide your candidate through next steps and what documents to have available to complete the process before clicking Continue. Your candidate's given the option to complete this on their smartphone or desktop. We recommend their smartphone as it's typically easier to get clearer pictures with the smartphone. If your candidate opts for their smartphone, they'll be asked to scan a QR code. This is a simple process to do, and they'll complete the same process as if they were using their desktop. In this case, they click Continue. Now they're asked to confirm the issuing country of their passport, either Ireland or the United Kingdom. The application shows them the area of the passport that needs to be included in the photo. The candidate positions their camera over their passport and presses Take Photo. When they're ready, they'll then take the photo. They'll be prompted to check the photo is clear and readable. If your candidate's satisfied, they'll then select Yes, Upload. The photo of their passport is then uploaded. Next, we'll continue with the facial scan. After clicking Continue, your candidate will be asked to consent to the scan. After that's done, there's some simple guidance on how to get the scan results before pressing Start Scan to begin the process. Using their camera, your candidate will then need to frame their face within the designated oval shape and click Ready once done. The candidate will be asked to remain still, move closer, remain still, until all of the scans have met the required standards and are uploaded. The candidate has now completed the process and presses Continue to finish and leave the Yoti session. From here, your candidate's facial scans will be compared to the photo on their uploaded passport image to check for likeness and the machine-readable information within the passport, as well as other authenticity checks that will be validated by Yoti to confirm the passport is authentic. Additionally, Yoti will confirm your candidate's right to work and information for the DBS-based closure check as part of the process. This final screen confirms that your candidates completed what they've been asked to do. They're now given the option to provide their mobile number for text updates and give feedback. The results of your candidate's DBS basic disclosure check, as well as their right to work check, are now made available to you in your HireRight's Screening Manager account. As a reminder, you will need to retain the information of your candidate's right to work for the duration of your candidate's employment and for 2 years after their employment has come to an end to comply with UK right to work requirements. You will also need to satisfy yourself that the photo and biographic details from the HireRight UK right to work check are consistent with your candidate when they present themselves for work. All right, so that was the first demo. The second demo is the right to work check for UK and Irish citizens in isolation. So without the DBS check, it's very similar, but we'll run through that very quickly. I'm going to take you through a demo of our UK Right to Work service. During this demo, you'll notice references to Yoti. They're a specialized digital identity verification provider who we've partnered with to offer this service to our customers. Employers can now carry out a UK Right to Work check digitally using identity document validation technology, instead of having to conduct a manual Right to Work check. However, to do this, employers are required by the UK government to use the service of an identity services provider, also referred to as an IDSP. Yoti is a certified IDSP. There are 3 possible scenarios for candidates undergoing a UK Right to Work check. The candidate has a current passport issued by the UK or Republic of Ireland. The candidate is a citizen of the UK or Ireland but does not have a passport. The candidate is not a citizen of UK or Ireland. In this demo, we will show you how HireRight's UK Right to Work digital identity verification service works for candidates who are citizens of the UK or Ireland and have a current passport. Other demos are available showing the journey for candidates who are not citizens of the UK or Ireland, as well as a combined flow with DBS basic disclosure criminal checks. Your candidate starts the UK Right to Work process, in this instance, by clicking I'm a citizen of the UK or Ireland with a passport, and then next to continue. To note here, UK or Irish citizens who do not have a passport cannot have their identity digitally verified for UK Right to Work. This is because other UK or Irish national identity documents, such as birth certificates, adoption certificates, or certificates of naturalization, are not included in the Home Office IDVT schema. For UK or Irish candidates who do not have a passport, we will notify you, the employer, to conduct a manual UK Right to Work check as prescribed by the UK government. After selecting the option using a passport, your candidate is asked to review and confirm the information they've already provided for this check and any other checks they've been asked to undertake. Click Next. They now, amongst other things, consent to the check being run and electronically sign the declaration before submitting. Your candidate is presented with an overview of the process they're about to follow and are asked whether they agree to a digital identity verification check for UK Right to Work performed by Yoti. If your candidate declines, HireRight will notify you, the employer, to complete an in-person UK Right to Work check. We'll notify you via an alert in your screening manager and by email. Your candidate also has the option at this stage to postpone the digital identity verification process for up to 10 working days. This means they can leave it for now and come back later to complete the process, as long as they do so within 10 days. You can disable this function upon request if your organization would prefer not to give your candidates this option. In this scenario, your candidate accepts and clicks Next. We then guide your candidate through next steps and what documents to have available to complete the process before clicking Continue. Your candidate's given the option to complete this on their smartphone or desktop. We recommend their smartphone as it's typically easier to take clearer pictures with the smartphone. If your candidate opts for this option, they'll be asked to scan a QR code. This is simple to do, and they'll complete the same process as they would as if they were using their desktop. They're now asked to confirm the issuing country of their passport, either Ireland or the United Kingdom. The applicant shows them their area of the passport that needs to be included in the photo. The candidate positions their camera over their passport and presses Take Photo when they're ready. They then take the photo. They'll be prompted to check the photo is clear and readable. If your candidate's satisfied, they'll select Yes, Upload. The photo of their passport is then uploaded. Next, we'll need to verify your candidate's identity with a quick scan of their face. After clicking Continue, your candidate will be asked to consent to the scan. Once that's done, there's some simple guidance on how to get the best scan results before pressing Start Scan to begin the process. Using their camera, your candidate will then need to frame their face within the designated oval shape and click Ready once done. The candidate will be asked to remain still, move closer, and remain still until all of the scans have met the required standards and are uploaded. Your candidate has now completed the process and presses Continue to finish and leave the Yoti session. The final screen confirms your candidate's completed what they've been asked to do. They'll now be given the option to provide their mobile number for text updates and provide any feedback. From here, your candidate's face scans will be compared to the photo on their uploaded passport image to check for likeness and the machine-readable information within the passport, as well as other authenticity checks that will be validated by Yoti to confirm the passport is authentic. The results of your candidate's UK Right to Work check are now made available to you in your HireRight's Screening Manager account. You will need to retain these for the duration of your candidate's employment and for 2 years after their employment has come to an end to comply with UK Right to Work requirements. Now that your candidate has completed the UK Right to Work digital identity verification check, you will now need to satisfy yourself that the photo and biographic details from the HireRight UK Right to Work check are consistent with your candidate when they present themselves for work. All right, we'll now go through the third main process flow, and that is for candidates who are not UK or Irish citizens. That's what we call the share code option. I'm going to take you through a demo of our UK Right to Work service. There are three possible scenarios for candidates undergoing a UK Right to Work check. The candidate has a current passport issued by the UK or Republic of Ireland. The candidate is a citizen of the UK or Ireland but does not have a passport. Or the candidate is not a citizen of UK or Ireland. In this demo, we will show you how HireRight's UK Right to Work solution works for candidates who are not citizens of the UK or Ireland. Other demos are available showing the journey for candidates who are citizens of the UK or Ireland, and a combined flow for both Right to Work and DBS Basic Disclosure criminal checks. Your candidate starts the UK Right to Work process in this instance by clicking I'm not a citizen of UK or Ireland. If the candidate is not a citizen of the UK or Ireland, their right to work in the UK can be verified by obtaining what's called a share code. A share code is an online unique code provided by the UK government to enable non-UK nationals to prove their right to work in the UK. Details on your candidate's right to work in the UK, such as the type of jobs they can carry out in the UK, can be accessed from the unique code and their date of birth. Please note, this share code process is the only way to confirm right to work information for these candidates. Manual checks are no longer allowed under Home Office guidance. Your candidate's now asked if they have a share code, or if not, to agree to HireRight getting their share code from the Home Office. In this demo, we're going to show you what happens when your candidate has a share code. If your candidate doesn't have a share code, they will click the button to say they agree to HireRight getting the share code on their behalf. They will then be asked to select one of the three possible immigration statuses from the drop-down option. Once that's done, they will then be asked to upload a copy of one of the listed identity documents. From here, we'll then obtain a share code on behalf of your candidate. Once we've been provided with their share code from the Home Office, we will then validate that share code on your behalf and include the candidate's right to work information from the Home Office in your final report. However, in this instance, your candidate confirms that they have a share code and inputs the code into the required field. Your candidate is asked to review and confirm the information they've already provided for this check and any other checks that they've been asked to undertake, and clicks Next. They now, amongst other things, consent to the check being run and electronically sign their declaration before submitting. HireRight now uses that share code and your candidate's date of birth provided to obtain a candidate's right to work information that is sent securely to HireRight. The candidate has now completed the process and presses continue to finish and leave the session. The final screen confirms your candidate's completed what they've been asked to do. They're now given the option to provide their mobile number for text updates and give any feedback. Once your candidate completes this process, HireRight uploads an electronic copy of the online check results from the Home Office into your HireRight Screening Manager account. Here is an example of the online check results. As you can see, this includes a photo of the candidate and information on the type of jobs they can do in the UK, as well as how long they can stay in the country. Now that your candidate has completed the UK Right to Work check, you will now need to satisfy yourself that the photograph on the electronic results looks like your candidate when you meet them face-to-face. You will also need to retain a copy of the results for the duration of your candidate's employment and for 2 years after their employment has come to an end to comply with UK Right to Work requirements. Okay, so those are the three main flows for Right to Work. And just to give an update on what's coming up next. In the future, we'll continue to introduce digital identity processes for specific products as countries introduce their own digital frameworks. For example, we're seeing interest in building and implementing similar frameworks across Australia, Canada, and other countries. So as these jurisdictions come online, we'll be sure to adapt to those changes. Additionally, we have plans to introduce digital document validation in the applicant experience, which will simplify the candidate process, as well as providing more accurate candidate information for our product suite. By capturing official names, birth dates, and other key information directly from official documentation, we can reduce candidate entry errors and provide standardized inputs across your product packages. So more information about these enhancements will be forthcoming in the next few months. So we do continue to innovate with our partner Yoti to use identity validation for other products as well. So more information will be coming earlier next year. And with that, I think we have time for a Q&A. And it looks like there are a few questions that have come in already.
Yes, there are. So let me fire away. Thank you for your questions. I'm going to go to the beginning. So the first question coming in is, will there be an option to deselect the right to work check for individuals where the check has already been completed manually?
So if the check has already been completed manually, then you would I want to make sure I understand the question. So typically what happens is that if you've ordered this product within your package, the check hasn't been completed yet. If the check has already been completed through a separate process, then we just wouldn't order this product, if I understood the question correctly.
Okay, if that's not the right answer there to Katie, then please feel free to drop in another Q&A at the bottom. So the next question, can you give an indication on the number of checks that result in a manual check? Now, I'm assuming this is where something hasn't quite worked on the digital check, and so then you need to do a manual check.
So from what we've seen with the current digital identity validation for GBS, we're seeing some declines, but not that many. I believe I'll have to double check the numbers, but I believe it's only about it's under 10%, I believe. For candidates who don't have the required documentation that's needed for an identity check, that will vary, obviously, just as your candidate base comes in.
Okay, perfect. So next question, when shall we expect the COVID adjusted rules for the DBS checks to be ceased? So basically, when is the Home Office saying you can no longer do it the previous way and you need to move to this?
Yes. So that is obviously one of the impetuses for getting this product live. So the COVID exceptions end on September 30th. So this will be available in time for those checks, and so we'll be able to sort of adjust the processes prior to that date.
Okay, and I know there was another question linked to that about when can they start ordering these packages. So can you give an indication of the go live date for when they can order these packages? So
we're in the process of finishing up the ordering process this week, and we should be able to we'll be able to roll this out the last week of September. So we're just making sure that we've got everything, all of our ducks in a row with final releases. But that's, we still have the target date of end of September.
Excellent. So they should talk to their account manager and get that keyed up for next week, right?
Absolutely.
So the next question is, what is the additional cost to add digital right to work check to our existing UK packages?
So the price is around £10. So because of the advantages of using the IDSP compared to other providers we've used in the past, we'll be able to pass on savings compared to the standard right to work check that we've had in the past.
Okay, great. Next question. Do you therefore still need to physically see everyone on day one, even if you use a digital check?
You do. There's more information on the Home Office website, so I would definitely just sort of look at the guidance there. And we do have those links in our FAQs and in other documentation. But even though you don't need to physically validate the documentation within the check, during the check itself. There's still guidance to do what we've termed an imposter check, to make sure that on day one, when the candidate does show up for work, that the person that has, that the information that has been for submitting the information and the documentation matches the person who's actually showing up. So it's to make sure that, say, for example, my twin brother couldn't go through the documentation check and then I show up for work. I don't have a twin brother.
Okay, that's good. It's definitely good. Okay, so the next one is a longer question, so I'm going to break it into bits. So the first bit,
sure.
Does the employer need to confirm in advance if the new hire is a UK Irish citizen or if they're a citizen of another country?
So you don't have to confirm in advance. That's why we have all three flows, all three possible flows within the candidate experience. So based on the inputs from what the candidate provides, we'll show whether it goes through the IDSP experience through Yoti or through the share code process. Or again, if they're a UK or Irish citizen that doesn't have a passport, that would have to be manually validated.
Okay, and I think then the second part of that question you've answered, because that's about the process of requesting the check. Is that dependent on which flow they would go through, or do you just request the same product?
Yeah, you would request the same product, so it would work for all. Yeah, the majority of users will fall within one of those three categories.
Okay, great. So the next one was about the date. So yes, you confirm the date that it's the 30th of September, and that we'll be launching next week the ability to use the packages.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay,
Correct.
so we've answered that one. So this one's a tricky one. So we hire on the Isle of Man where a share code is not required. Is there other options for them to select?
So for those areas where a share code is not feasible, that would be a manual check because there's additional paperwork that would be required. So in that case, for those instances, I would direct your candidates to click the second option, which is that they don't have a passport. That would then put in a notification into the screening manager to perform that manual check, because there are additional pieces documentation that's needed for that process.
Yes. So I just wanted to check, because there's been a few questions on, so right to work is the 30th of September, but DBS, do we have a confirmation of when that was ceased, or when it's, the Home Office have said we no longer will accept the COVID rules on DBS?
I will double. I think you would have to double check the guidance officially, but I believe though both dates are the same for that. We do have the digital solution for DBS already live and available. So we're ahead of any deadline for that.
Yes, I was going to say, so just to say to everybody on the webinar, the DBS product is launched and we do have all of the documentation ready for that, and you can watch back the webinar that we did on that one, and I will send out the links to everybody after this call. So some more questions. Can we choose when the DBS check is started, as currently we check right to work at time of verbal offer acceptance, and then when the candidate accepts their contract, we complete a DBS check?
So I believe, and double check with your account management to keep me honest, I believe what would happen then is that you would order those separately. So if you ordered right to work first, and then obviously then once the offer is accepted, that's when you would order DBS.
Okay, the next one. If the UK passport photo submitted by the candidate isn't clear or something's covered, what happens?
So within the guidance for, or within the actual experience for Yoti, the process offers guidance to try to mitigate some of those errors. So as you're capturing the image on your desktop or on your phone, it will try to make sure that your image is within the frame, that it's within focus. If there are any failures that come back even after that process for some technical reason, you would get a notification of a manual check. But in general, Yoti is working to try to make sure that they can get that clear imagery, not only of the documentation, but of the candidate on the first try.
Okay. Next question. Does the service also support enhanced and standard DBS checks, as this would require a higher level ID clearance?
Yes, so we will offer the option of having standard and enhanced as well. With the way that the schema works, you're right. For standard and enhanced, it's a higher level of confidence within the IDVT. The check for right to work is a medium check. So obviously, if you're doing standard and enhanced DBS, that's a higher level, and so it will still run both checks at the same time, and you'll get the results back from Yoti automatically.
Okay. So next question. Will the right to work check give information about any restrictions the applicant will have, such as only allowed to work 20 hours, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So with the particularly for this is largely concerning the non-UK and Irish citizens. So if there are any sort of hourly restrictions or time-based restrictions from a visa or indefinite leave, things like that, those will be reported back in the share code process. So when we do the online digital check with the Home Office, that output will show any restrictions that may be available. So those will be included in that final PDF report.
Excellent. Okay, next question. Are we going to have access to the passport and proof of address candidate that the candidate provided to Yoti/HireRight? Would this be available via the HireRight document section in the candidate file?
Yes. So for the IDSP process with Yoti, we do return back. We will generate a report with information that comes back within that framework. So we'll include the images that are captured, as well as so the images that are captured not only for the documentation but for the candidate, as well as the sort of output. It will also show things like the different. There are multiple levels of checks that Yoti does to identify fraudulent documents. So for example, if you were using a photo of your passport versus a live document, there are things like hologram checks that are in place as well. All those results that we get returned back from Yoti will be in that report.
Okay. Next question. If the candidate documents are really old and the Home Office does not accept them online for a share code, what are the options?
So there are some cases where that would not be the case, or where a share code wouldn't be available. For those, there are typically you would have to verify with the Home Office guidance on next steps. Typically, that includes to contact the Home Office directly to verify that information. So that it's a rare case of. Most current passports should work and be valid, but I believe the guidance from the Home Office is that there's alternate sort of manual routes to take to get that verification.
Okay. So next question, a bit of a tricky one for you. This one: who is responsible if HireRight's say someone is legal to work in the UK but they are not? For instance, they upload a fake passport.
So the ultimate responsibility of the check in the end, with that final check, is the responsibility of the employer. So we will we try to, again, we have the levels of confidence for the IDSP to try and mitigate those. But if, again, that sort of manual check at the end for day one of presentation is where the final responsibility lies, is with the employer.
Okay. Next question. Would you process the facial verification after the candidate has completed the share code check and the report has been published?
So with that share code option, we don't utilize Yoti for that process, so we wouldn't have the facial scan for that. So that literally is just entering in the share code either provided by the candidate or that we could request on their behalf if they agree to that. And so the visual sort of imposter check is with the photo that is in the output from the home office.
Okay, then I've got a question here about the facial recognition check. They're saying, does the candidate not need to do the facial recognition if they're having a DBS check? Could only see it for right to work check, but I believe the first video was actually a combination. Can you just explain that one again?
Sure. So if like currently today, if they're doing the DBS check, that's also through an IDSP, and they would still have to do that facial recognition check. So in a combined flow for DBS and right to work, they still only go through the Yoti experience one single time, but we'll get results back for both checks.
Okay, then there's some questions around integration. What additional efficiencies can you get from integration with your ATS?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. I mean, this is something that right now we are offering through Applicant Center specifically.
Okay, so there's yeah, okay, we can come back to that. So if that is the person that asked that question, yeah, if you want some additional feedback on that, then just drop us a little line and we'll try to help with that one. Let me see if there's anything new. So this does, so there's just to double check, does this cancel out the right to work checks that the Home Office require us to do? So basically this does stop from next week, 30th, the manual checks that the Home Office put in place for COVID, right? That's what we're saying.
So this, I mean, so this will, this will replace the COVID exceptions that were in place. And again, depending on the situation of the candidate, there may still have to be manual checks that will have to be done. Again, if they don't have a valid passport for a UK Irish citizen, those are because they have different documentation that's not supported by an IDSP. That will still require a manual check. Additionally, if the candidate refuses to utilize Yoti, which is, of course, is their right, then that would also be a manual check. But this should replace the COVID exceptions that were in place.
Okay, so we've got a couple more questions here. Can we deselect the right to work check for those who are being sponsored, i.e. they're waiting for a visa?
So again, I think this is around ordering process, sort of the ordering process flow. So if you know that there's a candidate that, say, hasn't received all the documentation for sponsorship, where they wouldn't have they wouldn't be able to use the share code yet because they don't have the correct documentation, then you would just order this at a separate time or not include it in your package.
Okay. And then there's a question around on the page where the candidate gives consent for DBS checks, there is a drop-down list to choose the type of checks. Can the candidate make changes, or will this be set by the coordinators team?
So the drop-down for DBS is around the type of documentation that you're using to verify for DBS. So there are options for there are different options for a DBS check versus right to work. However, for a right to work check, that is passport only. If I've answered your question, I think.
Okay. So we're saying that basically the drop down is to select the type of documentation that you're going to submit rather than the type of check that's happening.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. So like a candidate wouldn't be able to select, say, basic versus standard versus enhanced. That's something that would have to be set up within the ordering process from the client.
Yeah, I think that's what the question was around.
Apologies.
Okay, so we've got another question. No, it's fine. There's a lot of questions coming your way. So next question, we sponsor a lot of migrants. Is it possible to delay the right to work check part of it, but start the other normal checks? We send the HireRight invitation at point of offer, but migrant skilled workers visas might not come through for another number of weeks.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think that's really sort of coordinating the ordering sort of process or timeline. So you can order all the other packages, all the other products, and then order right to work separately later when you know that candidate has the documentation they need.
Okay.
So
we've got a question. Yeah, brilliant. So we've got a question here about expired UK or and Irish passports. What if those are given if they've been expired?
So one thing to note, and we tried to make it clear within the FAQs and other things. So it does have to be a current valid passport. So expired passports are not allowed under the IDSP. So under the framework. So if they try to capture an expired passport, it would fail through the IDSP. So then that would still be a manual check. So they would have to be a valid passport to get a sort of correct response through Yoti.
Okay. Then we've got a question around proof of address. So can proofs of addresses be collected and processed digitally, or do these need to be collected manually on top of the right to work process?
So for proof of address for DBS, there are options to capture additional documentation, say a bank statement or other documentation that's valid for DBS. So that can be done through Yoti, through the IDSP.
Okay. Then I've got a question around what does a completed right to work check report look like to download? Do we have an example? I think we showed an example in the video, but do you want to just clarify that one?
Yeah. So for the share code process, give me a second. Actually, I don't know if I can share my screen. Can I share my screen on this?
No. I don't think so. But we can.
I just realized I don't think that'll work.
I was going to say, if we will be sending out a link to the landing page, and on there will be the FAQs and other information. So examples of the reports, will they be included in there?
Yeah, so we'll make sure that we have examples of the reports available both for the share code and for the Yoti IDSP process as well.
Okay, great. So everybody stay tuned and you will get an email with the landing page, which will have lots of lovely information around the product, the workflows, copies of these demos so you can rewatch them, the full webinar and FAQs as well. So will turnaround time, next question, Jay, sorry. Will turnaround time accommodate 3rd of October start dates if the process hasn't been entirely set up? So let's just clarify the timings, how long it takes, etc.
Sure. So turnaround time for this product is we quote 1 business day. Typically, you'll get it same day. Most of the time, what we're seeing is that once we submit the information to Yoti, or if we go through the share code process, we expect turnaround time to be within a day. So we should be able to accommodate any timing as this comes online.
Okay. What's the SLA for any manual checks or instances where the technology can't be used for whatever reason?
So if there is a if there is any outages or things where it's not available from Yoti, I believe we can restart those checks once it is available. So we just have to get in. I believe you'd still get a notification of a failure, and then we can work to rerun that. Yeah, let me verify that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Okay. What we are doing, guys, is we are making notes of all these questions, and we'll add them to the FAQs if it's not already covered there. So this is really good information for us as well to make sure we answer all your questions. I have another question.
Absolutely.
What's the timeline for implementation for a new customer to be set up? We don't currently have a package with you in the UK.
So again, as we will start rolling this out next week. Certainly from the 3rd of October, that following Monday, is something where we know we will be live to make sure that we're meeting the requirements from the home office. So if you need a date, I would say after October 3rd.
Okay, so there's quite a few questions around this imposter check or day one check. Can it still be done not in person, so basically over Zoom or virtually?
So there is, I believe the way that the home office guidance is written, and again, I would verify at gov.uk. The difference with the day one check is that if you choose to do that check over, say, a video link, the difference is that you will need to have the original documentation in your possession. So, for example, if I was doing the imposter check on video right now, and Anne was my employer, Anne would have to have the actual documentation that was used for that right to work check in her possession when she makes the check. So it's different than what the COVID exceptions were previously. But again, I would double check the home office guidance.
Mm-hmm. So there's just another question around cost. If we can just clarify that one, is it different? Is it just one set cost?
Yes, it's the same cost. Again, because we won't know when at time of product order what flow your candidate will be using. It's the same cost for all three flows.
Okay. And there's just a question that we need to clarify. So can we order the DBS check through HireRight, but the right to work check conduct manually?
Yes. So if you only order the DBS check through HireRight and don't order the right to work check because they're separate products, you can still do your right to work check manually. It's not a combined product, so you wouldn't you'd have to order each product individually.
Okay. Well, I think we've done most of the questions. I've got. I think there's just a little bit of clarity needed around why they need to do this process. So there's been some questions around if they need to do the imposter check, why do they need to do the digital check of the documentation? So should we just clarify again the reasons why the Home Office is asking for this?
I don't know if I could give the reasons why the Home Office has has made this process, but in general, the idea with either the share code process or the IDSP process from an identity verification standpoint is that typically there's less room for human error for the actual documentation. It helps reduce the use of falsified documents. As far as the sort of first day one check in person, I can't give an answer of why the Home Office has changed that compared to what the COVID exception rules were, to be honest.
Right, but the guidance is on the Home Office
absolutely
website,
and we again we do have links to that within the FAQs and other documentation, so you can check it for sure there.
So I think I've covered most of the questions. I know there was a lot of questions, but hopefully I pulled out most of them there. And so, yeah, just to wrap up this webinar, all of this information will be on a landing page. In the next few days, you should get an email from us with the link to the replay. And hopefully by the end of beginning of next week, we will be able to give you the updated landing page as well, with all of those, all that information. But in the meantime, if you want to reach out to your account manager, they also have all of the information as well. And any more questions, you can fire it through them. And thank you all very much for joining this webinar. And thank you, Jay, for presenting.
Of course. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. So thank you, everybody. I'm just going to close off the webinar. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye.